Hello students, now we are proceeding further in this chapter. Before we proceed further, I wanted to tell you one more fact which I forgot to tell you before, and it was about insectivorous plants. So insectivorous plants are also now a question arises in our minds, okay, like when we study about insectivorous plants, whether, like, on one hand we know that they do photosynthesize, okay, they do photosynthesize, they do prepare sugars, but they cannot procure, or they cannot get. As I told you, what does procure mean in the last videos also, means get something, or get something from somewhere. You're arranging something for yourself from somewhere or the other, कहीं से इंतज़ाम करना किसी चीज़ का, okay, that's called procurement or procuring. So where only the insectivorous plants only have to depend on say nitrobacters or other forms, other ways through which they can get the nitrogen, they can procure nitrogen, okay, because they cannot get from the soil because they grow in this nitrogen deficient soils, right? Okay, so for that they have to depend upon nitrobacters or other such, for example rhizobium as well, okay, rhizobium, scientific name, it's a scientific name, so we will be underlining it, and R, that's the first letter, will be capital, okay. So it's one of it's usually associated with legumes. It's specifically means just for that particular thing, so it's specifically associated or linked or attached, it's a relationship with legumes. That's the plants which gives which from which we can get dals and dal and gram, okay, like chana dal, this dal, that dal. So all those the plants which give us those dals are called legumes, right? So we'll discuss about it in a while. I wanted to first emphasize or highlight this fact. Emphasize or highlight a fact. What fact is that? We know that insectivorous plants are dependent on other organisms for nitrogen, but they can photosynthesize on their own to synthesize sugars or to prepare sugars. Synthesize or prepare sugars. Okay, so can we say that insectivorous plants are partially heterotrophic? Partially means थोड़ा सा, not completely, partially, थोड़ा सा, आधा भी नहीं, आधा या थोड़ा सा, basically partially heterotrophic, because neither they are completely heterotrophic, neither they are completely, nor they are completely autotrophic. Means ना ही वो completely autotrophic है, ना ही वो completely heterotrophic है, because the autotrophic comes from, like, they can photosynthesize, so they are autotrophic, okay, whereas heterotrophic nature comes from the fact that they depend on soil, they depend on organisms, like the organisms which reside in the soil, to procure nitrogen. They cannot get nitrogen from on themselves, okay, on their own. They cannot get nitrogen on their own. So heterotrophic nature comes from this fact. So either we can call them partially heterotrophic, or we can also call them partially autotrophic, like ना ही completely वो है, ना ही वो है, okay. So partially, वैसे in your textbook it's mentioned partially heterotrophic, so mostly it will be asked in this way only. Asked, okay, not asked, is asked, okay. So mostly it will be asked in this way only, like which plants are called partially heterotrophic, or name the partial heterotrophs, okay. We can also say that insectivorous plants are partial heterotrophs. Is it clear? Okay. Now we'll get back to where we were in the last video. We were talking about the saprotrophs, okay. I also wanted to emphasize, I also told you about saprophytes, like mushroom, okay. Now saprophyte, yeah, we can say that saprophyte, phyte means a plant. Phyte, anywhere you see this word phyte, is associated with a plant. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you a word for organism. There are certain organisms. Okay, now these organisms could be in microscopic form also. They could be very small also, or they could be in a large form also. What we call these as, they are like bacteria only, but bacteria are always microscopic in nature. We never find bacteria which we can see from naked eyes, right? So but in contrast to that, like means in contrast means as opposite to that, what happens in this case, that is the organisms which I'm gonna tell you about right now. These are called fungi. Fungi, you can also call them, basically a singular form is called fungus, okay, and the plural form is called fungi. Some people also call it fungi. Okay, but it's better if we call it fungi for now, because this is a fungus, so this is fungi. Okay, fungi is also not wrong. Jai, fungi, J से और G से, fungi. Okay, so saprotrophs could be most of the fungi or fungi are saprotrophs. Okay, and mushroom is one of them. Mushroom belongs, now you'll be surprised to see that mushroom which we eat as a vegetable. Okay, and it's actually a saprophyte. It's a saprophyte because it's a plant form, right? It's a planetary form, but actually it is counted in the form of fungus. It's a fungus. We don't say it's a plant. Mushrooms are grouped in fungi category. They are not plants. Okay, so we'll call them saprotrophs only and not saprophytes. I'm sorry, saprotrophs only, because these are not plants. Though there are certain plants which act as saprotrophs, so we call them saprophytes because they are plants. They photosynthesize and do all that. Okay, so they are plants. But on the other hand, these mushrooms, they do not photosynthesize. As I told you, saprotrophs, the nature of heterotrophs, saprotrophs are kind of heterotrophs, as I told you in the previous video. So obviously they do not photosynthesize, right? So that is why they do not fall in the category of plants. Those plants which act as saprotrophs, okay, there are certain plants which release certain chemicals or certain digestive enzymes from their roots. Okay, from their roots they release into the soil. Okay, and then they break down the dead matter. Okay, so those plants are called saprophytes because they are plants. Saprophytes. Okay, whereas if you talk of mushroom, it's a fungi and not a plant, so it falls in the category of saprotrophs and not saprophytes. I hope it's clear. Okay, so what we came to know that fungi or fungi, okay, is Fu fungi, GI, fungi. Okay, now one more example of it is a very common example. You must have seen that when you leave something, when you leave some edible thing, okay, for example, if you prepared any chapati, if chapati was prepared at home, okay, and you could not finish that chapati on that day, and you thought I'll eat it tomorrow, or I'll eat it after 1 day or 2 days, okay, and you can try this at home also. What you can do is you just take a chapati, okay, and just keep a portion of it. Don't keep the entire chapati, just keep a portion of it, which you call a bite as well. Just keep a bite of it outside, because now the temperature is growing up, the summer season has began, so it's very easy also. So just keep it anywhere, don't keep it anywhere, just keep it in a katori or something, okay, and just moist it a little bit. Or if you have a bread slice, just take a bite of it and just don't completely soak it in water. Just apply a drop or two of water. Just apply 2-3 drops of water onto it. Don't dip it in water. Just apply 2-3 drops of water on it, or just apply a wet finger on it. Okay, just have to wet it a little bit. You don't have to dip it completely in water. And you keep it outside in a katori. Okay, especially don't keep it in the kitchen. Keep it on the table or somewhere. Okay, and keep observing it. Okay, so as the days will pass, like if you keep it today, you see it tomorrow, then you see it day after tomorrow. So within 1 or 2 days, you will see it turning black in color or grayish black in color. Okay, I'll send you the photo on the group. Okay, grayish black in color. Okay, or you must have even noticed that if you, I'll just tell you, wait. Okay, so they turn like grayish black in color. Okay, when you just keep any piece of stale means basa, stale. Anything becomes basa, right? We say basa ho gaya hai, right? So any piece of stale chapati or bread, if you keep it for 1 day or 2 days, you observe it. I am warning you, you will not touch it once it is. Once you see this grayish black outgrowth on it, okay, you will not touch it with your fingers. You will simply take the katori and just ask your mother to just throw it in the garbage. Okay, you don't do it yourself, and wash your hands properly, and ask your mother also to wash her hands properly after throwing it. Okay, so it's just a small experiment. Okay, now what the thing is, now as you must have you will observe this thing. Okay, so it will become more clear once you see the picture. So there is a grayish black outgrowth. Now what it is? Okay, it is nothing but a bread mold. It's called bread mold. Bread mold. Okay, now how is it? It's like this, somewhat like this. And you can see, when you see it in the when you see this grayish black outgrowth, you cannot see what is it like. It's very microscopic. Okay, it's just that, see what happens when something microscopic. Okay, just one bacteria cannot be seen, but of course if the bacteria grows, if it multiplies too fast, too rapidly, okay, then a time will come, a stage will come when it will multiply and grow into a huge mass. Okay, which you can see that whole mass with your naked eye. You cannot see this much bacteria. Now this pot also contains almost thousands of bacteria, but you can see it in the form of spot. As they will multiply, will form the spot getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Am I right? So similarly, if this is a bread, suppose it's chapati, okay, now you're keeping it, you will see that one black spot appears, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then this whole part, slowly the this fungus will keep on multiplying. Okay, it will keep on dividing, it will keep on reproducing. Okay, then it will like if there are, suppose, how does anything multiply? This is one cell, it will divide into 2. Then each of these will divide further into 2. So is it getting multiplied? Like 2 into 2 is 4. Then each of these will further divide. Then 4 into 2. Why am I doing 4 into 2 into 2 into 2? Because each cell is giving birth to 2 new cells. Right? So there are 2 cells which are giving birth to 2 new cells each. So I am multiplying 2 into 2. Now here 4 cells, and each of them is giving birth to 2 cells. So 4 into 2 each, right? then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8. So the end number of cells from one cell, okay, it multiplied how many times? 1, 2, 3, 3 times. Okay, it multiplied 3 times, or it underwent 3 times division to give birth to 8 new cells. So you just see, within a span of just 1 hour, not just 1 hour, I would say a few minutes, say for example 15 minutes, just in 15 minutes, you will see, just in 15 minutes, you will see that from one cell, okay, 2 cells, then 4 cells, okay, and then finally 8 cells are taking birth. Okay, so within 15 minutes, suppose this is one bacteria and it's like multiplying. Okay, so as it reaches this much, within 15 minutes one bacteria forms 8 new bacteria. And this is not one bacteria, this is bacillus, because it's a singular form, so bacillus. These are plural, so bacteria. Similarly, in case of fungus also, this is one fungus cell, okay, and it gives birth to, I'm not drawing everything, okay, suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 new fungi or fungi cells. 8 new fungi. Okay, so it's giving birth to 8 new cells within 15 minutes. This was just an example. What I mean to tell you is, if you see on the bread, you will see this much portion of it getting brownish in color, or grayish black in color, just because, as I told you, as the bacteria or the fungi starts to grow, as it multiplies, you can see them becoming naked. Though you cannot see the single bacteria or the fungi cell, you can just see them in as they increase in number, as they turn into a huge mass, you can just see them as a spot. Okay, and then as they more and more they'll multiply, then you will be able to see them more and more. Okay, otherwise just this much spot might contain millions of bacteria, or fungi as well. Whatever we are talking about here, we are talking about fungi, so let's talk about fungi. Millions of fungi. Okay, so just think how many fungus cells would be there in this big mass, right? So just imagine. So that is how the growth occurs. Okay, we'll be continuing the rest in the next video.